Yeah, click through for context. There's still many, many more points to be made, but this is about the Trump administration now being in open defiance of the United States Supreme Court. And yeah, John Roberts and the conservative majority, they created in large part the monster that we're dealing with right now, really through two rulings. They could have stopped all of it. I mean, Mitch McConnell could have stopped all of this if he'd corralled enough Republicans to convict him in either of the impeachment trials in the Senate, which doesn't that sound just, quaint right now? But the Supreme Court ruled 9-0 that Section 3 of the 14th Amendment does not apply to Donald Trump. The section about you are ineligible for federal office if you engaged in or abetted an insurrection against the United States. But they really sealed the deal with their opinion almost a year ago that came out on July 1st after Donald Trump had been convicted of 34 felonies in Manhattan. Their opinion last summer that granted Donald Trump near blanket immunity from criminal prosecution for actions taken while in office. And it's absolutely surreal that a year after Donald Trump was convicted on 34 felonies, he's now the authoritarian ruler of the United States of America. And his immigration plan, he said, we're going to start with the worst of the worst. We're going to start with deporting hundreds of thousands or millions of criminals. Well, something like 90% of the people who were on those planes to Venezuela this past March 15th, don't have any criminal records. And they have been sitting inside one of the worst prisons on the planet in El Salvador ever since, having received no due process and having been convicted of no crime. One of them being Kilmar Abrego Garcia, whose case puts Donald Trump in open defiance of the Supreme Court right now. We know that several of these men who are sitting in that prison are innocent of any crime, including Andre, the gay hairdresser, and the young man who had an autism awareness tattoo on his forearm, honoring his younger brother who's autistic. And this administration doesn't care that they put innocent people in one of the worst prisons on the planet. We don't know if any of those young men are still alive. We don't know. The Trump administration has said Mr. Abrego Garcia is still alive. The Trump administration says a lot of things. And the president of El Salvador is going to be in the Oval Office tomorrow, presumably without Mr. Abrego Garcia. And, it's like now we also have the Secretary of State yanking student visas and Department of Homeland Security arresting students, college students who were here legally because they protested against the Israeli government and against the Israeli military. They've been labeled terrorists or terrorist sympathizers. They've been abducted off the street. They've been sent to federal holding in Louisiana. And several people have asked me, why are they sending them to Louisiana? Why don't they just hold them where they get them? They sent them to Louisiana for two reasons. Louisiana is within the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals. Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, I think maybe Alabama. The Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals is stocked with absolute whack jobs. Even this Supreme Court overturns the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals frequently because they are in the image of Donald Trump. Many of them are. And many of them were appointed to that court by him. But also, number two, each justice oversees a circuit. The Supreme Court justice who oversees the Fifth Circuit is Sam Alito. Yeah. Who wrote the Dobbs decision overturning Roe versus Wade. So they're setting them up to fail through the appellate system by where they're initially housing them after their arrest and detention. And I mean, but we're now just grabbing people off the street and putting them in prison for things they said. We're grabbing people off the street and shipping them to the worst country on the planet when they've committed no crime. And those people have received no due process, no hearing, no nothing. And we're less than a year from Donald Trump's conviction on 34 felony counts. We're less than a year out from the Supreme Court's immunity decision for Donald Trump. And even after all of those things happened, the electorate of the United States decided to return that man to the Oval Office. And I hope every single fucking person who voted for Donald Trump in this country gets absolutely every single thing that they voted for in spades. I will never, ever, ever in my lifetime forgive any of you. And I feel that you should be treated for the rest of your lives as a direct reflection of what you have done to this country, because you're just as guilty as Trump is.